What is up, you awesome kissers? It's CistReactZ here, guys. Today we're reacting to why Pokemon can't sue PalWorld. So this is by Video Game Storytime, so make sure you guys subscribe to them. Hit that like button and comment down below. I kind of just want to see, like, the whole legality process of copyright. Because, like, yeah, everyone's talking about the whole dispute of, like, Pokemon is being, like, ripped off. Yeah. By PalWorld. That's what everyone's saying. But me, I just enjoy Pokemon and PalWorld. I'm not really on the legal fence of everything.
The latest Xbox Game Pass release to garner no small amount of attention, PalWorld does so primarily because of the controversy surrounding its very concept. The game's art style and presentation are so very similar to that used by Game Freak's Pokémon games that you may well find yourself wondering how this is even legal. Isn't this just a clear case of copyright theft?
Possibly. Let's see.
The Pokémon company's standard zero-tolerance approach to fan games, and especially given that PalWorld's big draw...
It's crazy how they have a zero tolerance towards fan games, though. Why?
Game Freak-esque art style with a level of violence that we don't normally explicitly see in the Pokémon world. So how then is PalWorld even allowed to exist? Why is this game of all Pokémon fan games, being given a pass by Nintendo and the Pokémon company, when so many other fan games have been taken down? The answer is in how PalWorld navigates the tricky waters of intellectual property.
Yeah, how do they?
The extreme violence shown in the game is actually one of the strengths that keeps Nintendo and the Pokémon company off the game's back. First, before we get into this, a quick legal disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. This video you stand to talk about intellectual property.
Alright.
Take this off now. Didn't fit anyway. It's my kid's hat.
I hope I just skipped to the right part. Because I'm, like, really interested. I want to lock... Like, I want to... Oh my god, pause! I want to lock in to, see what the world of copyright is like for these video games. Sorry. Like, I'll talk, but I just want to also lock in.
And the release of PalWorld certainly feels like that could be it. So I want to talk about how intellectual property law works.
Okay.
Essentially, for the purpose of this video and for the purpose of every fan game, there are three types of intellectual property that you need to be aware of.
Alright, so we got three intellectual.
It's just copyright, and if something's infringing copyright, and that's going to...
I didn't even know there was three levels to it. I thought it was just copyright.
You've got patents,
Patents. Heard about that.
You've got copyright. And
Oh,
all
patents, trademarks, copyright.
All of them protect different types of intellectual property.
Okay.
And the way that PalWorld gets around the Pokémon company's normally very strict, tight grip on their intellectual property...
I like these drawings.
...is these three it plays with, and how it avoids triggering the problems that would constitute a lawsuit if used in the wrong way. Let's get patents out of the way very quickly, because they're not particularly relevant to what we're talking about today.
Because aren't patents, like, for blueprints and shit?
A particular type of design of a thing, something that you have thought of and that you have said, I own this idea. And in order to get a patent, you can't just have it automatically. You need to get it approved from a...
Okay, I like this video. It's actually going in depth to, like, the three levels of copyright I just learned. And, like, I like how, even though patents aren't relevant, he's still going over it. But yeah, like, I know patents because everybody always leaks Nintendo patents, PS patents and shit.
You need to apply, you need to pay money, and then the patent office will say, yes, your idea is significantly distinct from everything else, and indeed your idea is specific.
Oh, you gotta be distinct,
and give you a patent because it's
not the same as everyone else, too.
You can't patent.
There's criteria to this.
Walking on two legs. You can't patent, for example, the idea.
Bear in mind, I'm doing the ultra simple YouTube version of this. Oh, never mind. So he can really just say something, but, like, there's gotta be, like, some more legal tape around the shit.
Or of shoes, or of different things, but you can patent the specific design of the shoes. You can patent the way that the laces connect if you've got a particularly novel, unique idea for how the shoes should hold their laces, etc. Where things get more relevant to PalWorld are in trademarks and copyright. There's a fair amount of overlap between these two, but they are their own distinct things. You can get something which infringes on copyright.
Yeah, because, like, you shoot pals, you hit pals. In Pokemon, you just capture them.
But does not infringe on a copyright.
And beat them up.
A trademark is very simply the mark of your trade. It is the identity.
The mark of your trade?
The word, the image
I'm starting to get it.
Associate strongly with your brand. So the Pokemon company owns the trademark on the word Pokemon. They are the only ones that are allowed to sell a product as being part of the Pokemon brand. Meanwhile,
that makes
copyright,
sense.
again, very simply, is the right to make a copy of something. You can't copyright an idea. That's what a patent is.
Yeah.
So if I read a book and I like the concept of it, I like the core principle in the middle of it, I can take that and I can use that as the basis of my own book. This happened with the book.
Bro, I really feel like this is like a copyright for babies video, and I'm learning a lot of shit. I hope you guys are learning too. Like I'm locked in right now, bro. I'm learning about copyright for this drama.
And Henry Lincoln. It is a theological book which puts forth the hypothesis that Jesus Christ married Mary Magdalene and had children with her. The book then was read by Dan Brown, another author who loved the general concept so much that he adapted it into his fictional work, The Da Vinci Code, and it's a central point of the story of the Da Vinci Code. The authors of The Holy Blood and The Holy Grail were not particularly pleased with this and attempted to sue Brown for using their idea in his book, but they were unsuccessful because you can't copyright an idea. To this end, the Pokémon Company does not own the right to make games about catching monsters, and indeed they shouldn't because they were not the first people to do it. There are many examples of the genre.
Oh wow, Persona.
Mon likes, which I quite like that as a name, such as Shin Megami Tensei, which long predate Pokemon. Pokemon was not the first game that featured Pokemon-style gameplay. Pokemon did it in a way that was wonderfully palatable to a lot of people.
Because yeah, like games like Ark and like Monster Hunter wouldn't exist if you're like trying to copyright that idea. And I feel like the whole point of the copyright here doesn't really come from the fact that the gameplay is more alike. Because, like, yeah, you capture them in a ball and then the, like, ball of light comes out, is just like Pokemon. But I think it differs because you, like, shoot and make the Pokemon work and you can train them. Or, I'm sorry, let me use the right words. I think I think PalWorld is different from Pokemon. Because in PalWorld, you can, shoot pals, beat them, train them, and all that stuff. You can ride on them, you can fly on them, you can surf on them. Well, you can do that in Pokemon too, so I should take that out of the equation. But you can shoot them, beat them, and they can have guns and stuff. So that's like different. And in Pokemon, you can train them, you can have them fight each other, and then you can like capture them in the ball of light with the little Pokeball. But like, I feel like their gameplay can't really be like 1-1 in a court of law. It really comes from the design. Like how close like a Pokemon can look like a pal. Because like I didn't really fill up every single Pokédex in a Pokemon game, so I can't really use an example as for right now from what I've seen in PalWorld. But yeah.
Did it with a very distinct
it can really copyright can really come down to like, or I should say in a court of law, PalWorld and Pokemon will really be fighting over how close the little pals look close to Pokemon.
In indie developers taking on the Mon-like genre and interpreting it in different ways. We've had Cassette Beasts, we've had Temtem, and now we've got PalWorld, which does its own thing with this, even though it looks very, very similar to the Pokemon Company's game.
Wait, what the heck? There's another one?
You can't copyright an idea within a game. You also can't copyright a gameplay mechanic, and you can't copyright an art style. And that means
can't copyright an art style or a gameplay mechanic?
Are indeed free and available for anybody to use. What the Pokemon Company can control, though, and what they can stop you doing, is releasing any game with the name Pokemon in the title, and they can stop you from using Pikachu's face or likeness. This is because the appearance of Pikachu, the character, is trademarked by the Pokemon Company.
Little guy trademarked and copyrighted.
The brand. When you see Pikachu, you think
it's actually trademarked by Nintendo.
The Pokemon Company. Now, the Pokemon Company has some Pokemon names trademarked and some Pokemon names are not trademarked. So, for example, Bulbasaur is trademarked, Charizard is trademarked.
Oh, man.
Scorbunny, I found, is trademarked.
I can't steal Bulbasaur.
There's a wonderful list, because of how
Bulbasaur.
trademarks work, of everything that is currently trademarked and by which company and the address of that company. So you can very easily search for and find some of these names. At the same time, looking at the UK database of trademarks, I wasn't able to find a trademark for Cyndaquil.
But then I also heard... Actually,
Totodile,
he's just talking about trademarks. So I also heard that the copyright laws are different in Japan and US, so this could be like a whole different problem.
But they're exactly
so I wonder if he's talking about
copyrighted. It's not an idea, but if you make a copy of the exact design as it appears in.
So I wonder if he's going over like the UK rules, or is he going over the worldwide rule for copyright? Are there certain rules of copyright that are the same all around the world? Like, which are we talking about here?
To that end, one wrinkle in copyright law involves derivative works. The idea that if you just read a book and then take large chunks of the text from that book and put them into your own book, you are still infringing on copyright, even if you're not copying the entire thing across. Similarly, if you're making a picture that is based on a character that somebody else has designed, you are copying that character. No, you're not copying the idea, but you are copying the design, which is copyrighted. And if that seems complicated and confusing, and like there's a huge grey area in the middle, yep, welcome to copyright law. Like most copyright cases involve trying to puzzle out what actually constitutes a derivative work and what is just fair use, the use of a similar idea or a similar concept. Take anything that Ed Sheeran has had to do in any court case in the last year, and you've got a pretty good example.
Oh, wow.
We've gone into detail in a previous video about
Pretend
the
this is
estate of
Virgil
Sherlock
Baker
Holmes
Street,
and
which
how
it
they
isn't.
are very on it in protecting their legal claim, what they claim to have control over, which is the idea of Sherlock Holmes being nice. Because the character of Sherlock Holmes is long since out of copyright. He is within the public domain. But the idea of Sherlock being kind only appears in some of the later works, which were under copyright for a lot longer.
This dude is teaching me a lot about Sherlock Holmes and other books, while also teaching me about Pokemon and PalWorld. He's a good teacher.
Is infringing on their copyright, which is obviously nonsense. But this is how copyright law works, is that people end up trying to make a bigger claim than they necessarily can hold on to. Indeed, it's that attitude of the grabbing a bit further than we can really reach and just seeing how things puzzle out in court.
It's crazy. So if Nintendo can make it like a bigger problem than than it really is, Nintendo could really be like, I want $1 trillion because this guy looks just like Chimchar. Like, oh my god. I hope PalWorld wins the case, but I also hope Nintendo doesn't lose a lot of money. Like, I want both these companies to coexist. I want both these games to coexist. Maybe collab one day or something like that. Like, man, why's it gotta be Pokemon sue PalWorld? Why can't Pokemon and PalWorld just shake hands and team up, bro? But at the same time, I still like learning about this copyright. But it is crazy how Nintendo could be a bitch.
The way that the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are often a little bit...
It's Pansage, because that looks like the Tangy from the game. I see what they...
Overambitious.
Who's that, pal? Tansy, yeah.
In the way that they shut down fan projects. There are concerns that if a company doesn't maintain a strong boundary and says, this is ours, you can't touch it, even when dealing with fan works, that other companies might be eager to kind of sink their teeth into it a little bit, just kind of test it, push the edge, try and just help themselves to a little bit of what the other company owns. So PalWorld gets around intellectual property law surrounding trademarks by simply not using the word Pokemon and not indeed using a title that sounds anything like Pokemon, just to be as distinct as possible. The game also does not feature Pikachu, and it doesn't feature...
It should feature Pikachu.
Pokemon that we have seen in actual Pokemon games that might be trademarked or copyrighted. But what it does do is feature a lot of characters, a lot of animals that look very, very similar to the Game Freak art style in a way that we don't normally get in these Mon-likes. Indeed, it could be said that PalWorld is in danger in some places of failing the squint test. In 2012, Tetris Holdings LLC sued Shio Interactive Limited over a Tetris clone that had appeared on the iOS App Store. The game in question, Mino, featured gameplay that was very similar to Tetris, which the judge reiterated very early in the case was not a problem because you can't copyright gameplay. However, the game also had a visual style that was almost identical.
I mean, yeah, that kind of looks just like Tetris, I ain't gonna lie to you.
In this case, the game failed the squint test. If you took a screenshot of Mino and you put it next to a screenshot of Tetris and you squinted at them, it was very difficult to tell the two apart. And for that reason, the judge ruled in favor of Tetris. So according to the judge in that case, the borderline as to whether or not a game is infringing on copyright is, quote, if one has to squint to find distinctions only at a granular level, then the works are likely to be substantially similar. So, as said, in places, PalWorld could be in danger of failing the squint test. The designs of these characters and the art style in general are so similar to Pokemon that it...
I can see what he means. That tail could be a little bit dangerous. Like, if somebody were to hold that little bastard up to Pikachu, they'd be like...
art style in general are so similar
to I mean, his outward appearance clearly does not look like Pikachu, but it's that damn tail that might fail him in the end.
Art style in general are so similar to Pokemon that it looks like this is copied.
But I mean, like, Pikachu doesn't have a wire on his tail. Pikachu just has, like, the Electrobolt tail.
To a degree
to
that
my
is
understanding.
transformative enough and would be considered
I'm seeing all kinds of
derivative.
gameplay spoilers
Then
right
get
now.
To the other side of the gameplay.
God, what
Because,
the hell
of
is
course,
that?
That's the big meme with PalWorld, that it's Pokemon and it looks so much like Pokemon, but it's got that added level of violence. You'll notice I'm being deliberately very coy about describing what kind of violence, and there's a reason for that. This is YouTube, can't really talk about some things very openly. You can look it up on the internet.
PalWorld has guns. That's what he's talking about.
It's very easy to find, and indeed I'm probably being a bit too cautious, but whatever.
Yeah.
This is a family channel, I don't want to go into it. To this end, then, if PalWorld was simply a mon-like in the traditional sense, with this art style, with this design, with these characters, then yes, it could potentially be seen as infringing on the Pokemon Company's copyright because it is derivative, it is not substantially transformative of the original Pokemon idea and the way that most modern Pokemon games
So
are
basically
presented.
they have to worry about being
Because of the
transformative
unique
within the
quirk in its
designs.
gameplay, because of that weird twist to the formula, because it's the kind of game that makes people go, what? Why did
Pokemon
somebody
or
make
not,
this?
I'm 100%
Why?
here
Because
with
of
this
that, PalWorld is not actually infringing on the Pokemon Company's copyright. And while it's not necessarily the kind of game that I personally would want to play, and while I can't speak to the quality of the game itself, I have nothing but
I've been playing
respect
that.
for the way that Pokemon...
I've been playing that game for 20 fucking hours, alright? Shit. That PalWorld is so fun, bro. I love it. I hope it doesn't get copyrighted. And I hope Pokemon doesn't get fucked up if they lose a case against PalWorld. Like, I hope both games can just coexist, bro.
Pair have dodged and swerved their way around intellectual property law in order to get this thing out the door. So then, the moral of the story, if you want to make your own Pokemon fan game, and again, this is not legal advice, but if you want to make your own Pokemon fan game, don't call it Pokemon, put in your own character designs, and add something weird to the mix.
Yeah. So, like, basically, long story short, I feel like the only thing that they might fail is, like, a 1-1 test and the squint test. And maybe if they just throw a couple of patches, just adding, like, I don't know, mounted guns on the side of some pals, maybe they'll just win the squint test because obviously Pikachu doesn't have a fucking shotgun on his shoulder. Like, hey, that's what the PalWorld devs should do. Just go put like a whole mounted shotty on a lot of pal shoulders. Sorry, I'm like primarily a Pokemon fan, so I keep on saying Poke or Palmon on accident. It's not me trying to make fun of the game. I grew up with Pokemon, so of course I'm gonna say Poke when I'm thinking about Pal. But anyway, try to win the squint test. Try to do something different to the design before Nintendo outright says, "Hey, we're going to court with this shit." That's just my opinion. But I don't know if that can even work. And don't take my legal. I don't even know if I can get sued for saying that. So I'm just kidding, for real. I'm just kidding. But yeah, and I see a lot of people arguing over PalWorld and the whole Pokemon idea, bro. It's like, who cares, bro? They're two games, man. It's like, obviously PalWorld is not out here trying to benefit off of Pokemon. They just have a similar look to Pokemon, bro. I think that's what it is. Because if they were just out here trying to profit on the Pokemon idea wholly, I think we'd all see that. But they're trying to be their own identity. And I hope Nintendo really thinks about that and says, you know what, fuck it. Let's give Pikachu a shotgun and have him running around shooting legs off for just a little DLC or like a limited time event. That'd be cool. But I don't know, it might hurt their brand. Maybe some parents won't want Pikachu in their households. I don't know. But anyway, if you guys, what do you guys think about in the comments? Do you guys think PalWorld is copyright? Do you guys think PalWorld is gonna die soon? Do you think PalWorld should stay? Do you like PalWorld? Do you like Pokemon? Or are you just a neutral guy like me who just likes to play video games and not argue about them? Because, you know, yeah. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.